Evening everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's been a little while since the last video because I've been getting ready for my wedding, and obviously some of you may realise that does take quite a little bit of planning. So I've been doing quite a lot of work on the blue 66, getting that tidied up, because the aim is that that's going to be there on the big day looking nice. But I have found a little bit of time in amongst doing that to pick up some more carburetors. So today is going to be a little bit of another carburetor episode, and I'm going to take you through modifying what is a carburetor designed to go on, I believe it's a 1300, or rather I believe it's jetted for a 1300 Volkswagen engine, so flat 4, and we'll have a little look at that and how we're going to modify it so that you can run it on the 2-cylinder Fiat 500. So what we've got on the bench here is, well, it looks like a Solex PICT 34, something along those kinds of lines. However, it's not. It's actually stamped with a Weber part number. Now, it doesn't have Weber in the castings anywhere, but if you Google that part number, what it actually is I think it was a dealer upgrade in the 70s designed to go on, as I say, the 1300 or the 1600 air-cooled, but it's basically a Weber copy, clone, whatever you like, of the Solex PICT design, so shares a lot of really similar features. It has 12-volt electronic choke, which is actually open because it's really hot in England actually at the moment, pushing sort of 32 degrees, which is very unusual for these parts. So clearly it's decided that its bimetallic strip is warm enough to open. It has a 12-volt idle jet cutoff, so that with the ignition off you're not going to leak fuel into your inlet at all. And it has a, spin it around here, it has a accelerator pump. That's the word I'm looking for. Now, the distance between these two studs here is a little bit too large to fit on the inlet manifold that I'm planning on using. So I've got this little swan neck offset inlet manifold, which is ever so slightly larger diameter than that. Now, I haven't actually measured the diameter of that throttle plate, probably about 28 mil. I will check that later. That's ever so slightly larger, and the distance between here and here is ever so slightly bigger than this. So in order to make this work, before I bother rebuilding it and rejetting it, is I'm going to sit it like this, which means I'll be able to run pretty much the standard Fiat throttle, or the throttle linkage I should say, which runs across there, and that works basically the same as the standard Weber that's on there, which means I'm going to want to have the manifold set up like that. So what I intend to do is take these two studs out of here, and we're going to take these studs out of here. Now, before I started recording the video, I had actually begun drilling here, because if you notice there are 2 points here, and the distance between here and here correlates exactly with the distance between here and here. And if we flip that over with those holes lined up, the throttle plate lines up exactly with the inlet. So what I'm going to do in a minute is I'm going to drill that hole completely open. Going to fix a stud in there, 8mm stud, which will then come out the top and allow a bolt to go through. Now this one's going to have to be attacked slightly differently. What I'm going to have to do here is mount the stud in that way, and then I'll enlarge this hole. I'll file this area flat, and what we'll end up doing is dropping that on the top, and we'll have one nut on the top and one nut on the bottom, holding the whole thing together. So in order to fit on here and to get this nut to sit flush, all I'm doing here is just hand filing this with a metal file. I'm just going to continue doing that off camera, and we'll get that to sit nice and flush so that we can get a 10mm nut on the end there, and it will sit nice and be easy to install on the car. So one of the advantages of this casting being so thick around here is you can maintain the strength and still file away enough. No, it's not the nut I'm going to be finally using, and it's a 13mm, not a 10mm. I misspoke earlier. When that is aligned over the hole, we've now got enough space in there to actually thread it down. And it doesn't take a huge amount of load, and it's not a particularly heavy carburetor, so therefore just removing that little bit of strengthening brace, and it really was only a few millimeters there, is going to make no difference to the strength of that part. And actually, compared to some of the other bits that I've got, it's quite a nice casting. Admittedly, the fact that the the bolt that holds it in, or rather onto the head, protrudes into the airflow is not great, but there's not really a lot that I can do about that. Certainly, at least where the carb fits is going to be quite nice. Battery ran out of my drill, so I've had to stop drilling for a moment, which is why I'm not assembling it just yet. So there's only so long you can watch someone actually drilling a bit of metal for before it gets very, very boring. So what I've done there is I've now drilled that hole fully out. As you can see on the other side there, it's okay. Granted, it does run into the original hole ever so slightly, but because it's an oversized one just designed to take a stud through it and it doesn't have any threads in it, really doesn't matter. Just looks a little bit nasty right now. I've put this slightly longer stud in here, which will extend down there. I might get a shorter stud, and I've put this stud in here. So what we should now be able to do, and I'll make sure I get this the right way round, because what I want is that to sit against that side, and I need the throttle to be on there. So if I flip that over that way, that should only go together one way, and we'll fit this together. Just pause that. Okay, so I had to pause that because I was trying to do that one-handed. I realised it's probably easier to do it like this. And let's get that on there and on there. And we have a nice fit. Now, what I did notice when I was paused trying to do that one-handed is I had to do a bit of clearancing here, because the throttle was catching. It's now not catching. Doesn't have quite wide open throttle, but it's pretty close. So, well, it's certainly close enough. With a little bit more fiddling, I can probably clearance that. I can probably grind away quite a lot of this. Sorry, get that one, camera. Grind away quite a lot of this bracket here in order to actually ensure I can get wide open throttle. So I'll just stick some nuts on there, and then we can have a little dig around inside. Okay, so the standard IMB28 of a 650 Fiat has a 110 main jet in it. So let's see what's in this one and how close or far off it is as standard. Take that out the bottom of the float chamber, and the jet will be in there somewhere. I can just about see it. Might have to pause that whilst I'm going to get that out, as I cannot do that one-handed. So on closer inspection, I decided to give up on pulling that jet for the minute. I don't have the right size screwdriver here at this second, so it's probably just going to be easier if I take the top of the float chamber off there when I'm actually bothering to repair it, and I'll have a little look and see what the jets are. But all in all, just flip the camera around and we can see there is our finished Weber Solex clone, with all the cool additional usability of your throttle pump and your air choke and your 12-volt choke, electronic choke, getting rid of the standard Fiat choke lever, which is down in there somewhere, which does stretch quite often. So there you go. Hopefully that was interesting. If you get hold of one of these, get hold of one of these. I mean, honestly, I have no idea where that swan neck manifold came from, but all in all, it's quite cool. Whatever car that ends up on, quite a cool little story about where it came from. Once again, thanks for watching, and you know, give us a like, give us a subscribe, leave me any comments, and see you later. Take care.